Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Welcome back to another Mystery Mystic reading. I am revisiting Heidi Planck's case. As you all know, I've covered it extensively on the Mystery Mystic Monday series, and I was asked by a dear friend and viewer to revisit it again just to see what's coming up energetically. So that's what we're going to do. This is probably going to have to be a two-parter because I am not even quite sure what questions to ask for the tarot. So I'm going to rely on the oracle to guide me on what kind of questions we want to ask in part two. So I'm going to use this new deck that I've created called the Secrets Revealed True Crime Oracle. It is not available for sale yet, but at some point in the near future it will be. But I'm breaking it in with these readings. So Spirit, what can you share about Heidi Planck's situation? What can you share? What are the energies surrounding her disappearance? What may have happened? Where she may be at? Who might be responsible? What are we looking at here? Someone's a flight risk. It is still an active case. Okay. Just wanting jumpers, con man or fraud. That's interesting to me. It's 160 cards, so reshuffle. It's 160 cards, this deck. So I break it up into sections to shuffle. And I'll try not to make this video too long, but I just wanted some direction on where to go next with regards to Heidi's reading. Okay, Spirit, is there anything else you wish to share with me about Heidi Planck's disappearance that we need to look into? Well, that's what we're going to do. Okay, let's show you all what came up here, okay? I may have to use my wand. I know that's problematic for a couple of you, but this is a larger spread, so I'm going to have to use it. Okay, so the first card that jumped was boat. We've got suicide, flight risk, active case, premeditated or planned, con man or fraud, rival, backstabber, karmic connection, dating, lured, corruption, and rule or country. Okay, so this could either be construed that maybe she was taken to a body of water, or maybe some kind of transaction took place on a boat, or maybe the person who is responsible owns a boat, or this could be more about the element of water, that this is a murky situation, a highly emotionally volatile situation at that. This card is interesting to me. This is about someone who could have tried to take their life, who has taken their life, or who in the future will try to take their life. This also could be about a perception of having it look like Heidi's responsible for her own demise. That may be the narrative that someone has been pushing or will try to push. This also could represent her herself, that at times, whatever situation she found herself in, proceeding up to her disappearance, had her on the brink mentally. I know that in the past she had struggled, just like many of us have, with our mental health. And so it wouldn't be far-fetched that she could have been pushed to the brink. But does this card, when I created this card, I wanted it such that it didn't show somebody who already took their life. I wanted it to be where it could be someone who's contemplated it or contemplating it, that maybe they haven't. So this could be a theme we hear about or will hear about in the future. Okay. All right. So then we have this card. This could represent either her, again, another scenario that whomever is trying to distance themselves from could try to say, well, she just left on her own accord, of course. She just left on her own. Well, no, I don't sense that. And I know that law enforcement doesn't, that's not what's in their mind or what's on their, what's come up in their investigation, that something has happened to her. So whatever excuses someone may have about that, I'm not buying it. And I don't think law enforcement is either. This can indicate that someone has the means or the capability to try to flee once they are caught or named, or, like it's revealed that law enforcement really does have their sights set on them. Okay, so this could be something we hear about, if we ever hear about. This could be something that is significant to this case. Something that is very comforting here is that it is still active, unbeknownst to us, to me, to those who might have been curious, who knew of Heidi's case. It can look like and appear from our vantage point that it's grown cold. I haven't heard anything. I check the news periodically to see if there's anything going on with her case, and there's been really no movement in the news, at least. But that doesn't mean that the case isn't being investigated or people are still not, exploring options. It could mean that the case has, to some extent, on some fronts, grown cold, but there is still some evidence that is making it that the case is actually active. And that maybe it goes through points where it might be, some aspects of it might grow cold, witnesses stopped communicating, but the cops, they still have it on their roster. It's not like they're no longer investigating leads, or that they, that it's fallen off their, what we used to call, when I investigated cases, not in the criminal matter, but civil matters, the diary system, where it comes up on calendar to work it, to look at it. It's still in that way active. This is a premeditated, planned situation. This was not spur of the moment of what happened to her. This was not somebody's impulse to do something harmful. This was something that was planned. By whom? We would say a con man, or someone who is accustomed to committing fraud, who is a flight risk, who premeditated this. The cops it may just be that they don't have enough evidence on this particular con man or fraud or person who is coming across as a fraud to law enforcement. They just don't have the evidence to make it stick, and this person is quite slippery. So when police bring charges to this person, bring up charges, I should say, they have to be very sure, okay? They have to be very sure about this person. This person is a backstabber. They could have been a rival to Heidi, but maybe I feel like towards the end she may have really started to understand that this person was not on her side. But initially she thought they were. This card is interesting to me. When I was doing her readings early on, I got the impression that whoever is responsible may have made passes at her, or wanted to date her, or wanted something more. And maybe she just wasn't willing to go there with him, or maybe she did at some point. I don't know. And I'm not going to make any wild guesses, but the dating card is interesting. Some people might interpret that she maybe we were on the wrong track about it allegedly being her boss, Mr. Sugarman. It could have been someone else that she was dating, but I sense that it could be someone who may have wanted to date her and maybe not really gotten very far. They were on a karmic collision of sorts, is what I like to liken this card to. A karmic collision. Where they were on the trajectory that, someone was going to introduce them and link them up and bring them together, Heidi and this person who's ultimately responsible for what happened. And so it was almost an inevitable meeting of sorts. The night of the incident, she was lured, okay? She was lured under some other pretense, all right? She was lured, was supposed to be getting something, and then in turn, we know that she went to this party at the Hope and Flower building, and it may have been so she could be able to get her hands on some, medications, and something could have been wrong with those medications, right? And there's no judgment about that. And for me, at least. So she was lured under a pretense. But corruption, large, big-time corruption is at hand here. We may even hear about this, and I've talked about it in past readings. I will link, I think I have a playlist for Heidi's case that I've done readings on. If not, I will make a playlist, and I will include this video with it. And I'll also link up key videos that I've recorded on her readings to this video. And I talk about corruption. I talk about crimes in high places. This is high crimes we're talking about here that she may have had knowledge about. She may have had knowledge. Okay. And then finally, we have rule or country. This could be that she's in an area. This almost looks like somewhere off grid in California, down in Southern California, like this old shabby barn and kind of sandy dirt. And she could be somewhere in a rural setting. Although, the boat, some people, when they were doing readings way back when on her case, they were like, oh, she's in a body of water. That could be. There could be evidence that have been transported by boat or some kind of dealings that happen on a boat that it will later come to pass. Something about a boat. But there's some, in terms of where she may be at or where critical clues may be at, it could be somebody's rural location. Whoever did this has money or has ties to those who commit corruption. A con man, this con man could have a home in a rural setting that has evidence on a computer, has evidence on, like in paperwork stored somewhere away from their home in the city. Okay. All right. We're going to end it here, as I wanted to keep this as short as possible because I'm going to watch it again and ponder, sit with what came up in tonight's reading, and then formulate some questions. If you all know this case, Heidi's case, and you want me to ask some questions, pose some questions for the tarot and oracle reading that I plan to do on her case, please leave a comment and I will be sure to include it in that upcoming reading. I'll wait a bit before I do that reading so I can hear from you all on some potential questions. Even if you don't know the case, but you look at these cards, right? And you're like, what about this flight risk? Or what more can be said from the tarot about that boat card? Or how active, what is going on with the police? Like really and truly, what are they knowing? What are they doing day to day on her investigation? Or who is this backstabber? So you might see some things in the cards themselves that could help. And so I also invite you to share your intuitive hits as well. So, you know what I'm going to ask you all? Do me a favor, please hit the like button. It does help out the channel immensely. It helps me out, and I so appreciate you for doing it. If you haven't already done so, subscribe, and also leave a comment if you can think of some other cases you'd like me to cover. I do have a growing list, but I do always add to the list. And now that I've taken a little break, I'm raring to go to get back started again, revisiting a couple of cases and doing cold case, looking at cold cases, looking at new cases. So I want to hear from you. Take care. Bye for now.